Hello everybody, my name is Sarah, Pearls of Wisdom and Food on YouTube and Facebook. And here we are. And Anne, one of the tribe members, suggested that I do some videos on the trigger, the habit, and the addiction. And I think that's a delicious idea, and I'll throw in the craving. And so I'm going to do 4 clips on this, so you will have a little collection in your Pearls of Wisdom and Food library, as it were. And I think these things are important, and I think that they are a little bit different, but all connected in your journey of figuring out who you are, what you are, if you're really a food addict, and how the whole thing works. Delish. And I hope you've got your coffee along with mine. So anyway, the first one is going to be the trigger. And hello, the trigger comes this time of year. If you're watching this a million years from now, this is December. And this is when triggers really, really rain down on us everywhere we go. With triggers, they can be our own triggers, and they can be somebody else's triggers, and they can be unknown people's triggers, store triggers, picture triggers, magazine triggers, ads on TV triggers. They are everywhere. Now here's the deal with the trigger. If last year at this time you were just going to the trough and putting your hair in a ponytail and burying your head into whatever it was, creamy stuff, salty stuff, sugary stuff, cookies, crumbs everywhere. If you were doing that last year and not paying any attention, but loathing yourself ever the same, and this year you are on either Weight Watchers or High Fat Low Carb or any of the other programs that you could be on, but you're still watching this for motivation, it's going to be different, right? It's going to be totally different this year for you. And those triggers, what's the word, olfactory? The ones that you can smell? Oh my goodness, I used to make mountains, and I'm talking mountains of shortbread cookies. We're talking like 12 dozen eggs and 15 pounds of butter. And I would roll them out, and they would be like this thick, almost a half of an inch thick. And they would have to cure, kind of harden a little, and then I would decorate them, and they would be out. I'm telling you, the smell of butter permeated the house for weeks. And, you know, what a trigger that would be to have those. They weighed, each one weighed about 4, 5, 6 ounces, depending on what the shape was. I adored doing it. It took a week to do them. I don't have that time today, nor could I do it, but I gave them out. Well, anyway, triggers are things like that. So triggers are smelling things, seeing things, feeling things, especially smelling and feeling. So you might have already experienced many, many, many triggers at Thanksgiving. And now, you know, it's been almost 3 weeks of the in-between the 2 food holidays, although we do food all the way up to Super Bowl Sunday, don't we? All the little triggers are there. Every single thing is a food event. I work in a shelter. There is a food event every single day that includes garbage. And if you don't know what garbage is, you need to get a Sarah dictionary. They are available on Amazon. Kidding! Wouldn't that be funny? And I did not coin the term, but I stole it. And garbage is, of course, carbohydrates that are garbage, the junk stuff. So you've probably already been exposed to a lot of triggers this season. And they're impossible. They need to be maintained and not given into, right? And so you see a trigger, you smell a trigger, and it requires you to pull out inside real quick all of those skills, all of those tools. They need to be sharpened every single morning before you head out, because you have no idea what you're going to see, what you're going to run into. I mean, even the grocery store flyers have pictures of certain things that are just like, oh, yeah. Now, if you've been following a food plan for a while, then you've probably had some success and you want to keep it that way. So it's really, really tough right around now. And you're making deals with yourself. If you're like me, you're making deals with yourself. You're compromising, right? Now today, for example, I have a rare and appropriate. A rare and appropriate in Sarah's dictionary is something that you have every few months that is rare and appropriate. And it is hopefully just a meal or an item. And it doesn't mean the kickoff to the holiday binge. So you have to be careful. And my rare and appropriate is we're going to go to the movies today, not to see Star Wars, although most everybody there will be to see Star Wars. But hard to see because it's out of Nantucket. And, of course, being a Cape Codder, I love that. So I am having some popcorn. And I am bringing my own Kerry's grass-fed butter to put on it. And that is my rare and appropriate. So, haven't been for a couple of months, so that's why it's my rare and appropriate. So anyway, I'm a small pleasure kind of gal, right? I'm easily made happy with little things like that. So, that's my rare and appropriate. But if you're going to these holiday parties and you are a fan of some of the things they're serving, first of all, one of the Sarah Cardinal rules, my rule, doesn't have to be yours, but I'm telling you, it makes a difference, is I do not eat when I'm standing up. So you're at one of these social blah, blah, blahs with all the, the bling and the glitter and the candles and the smells and all that kind of stuff. And you get yourself a little plate of num-nums before the entree. Please sit down. Just try it out, They do suggest having an apple before you go and a glass of water. Why? Because it kind of fills the stomach with the fiber, a little bit of sugar, a little bit of fluid, and there you go. These things, these tips and tools that we have help us with triggers, because there could be a place, and I don't know if any of you have ever experienced this. I certainly haven't. They've just told me about this, right? Wink, wink. Is, you're holding on, you're doing good every day. At the end of the day, it's abstinent. You wake up, you feel great. Your weigh-ins are okay. Not great, but okay this time of year. And suddenly you give in to one of the triggers, okay? And, the self-loathing kicks in, the remorse, and maybe you keep going. And maybe it sets off something that, you had no idea it would lead you there. And it starts with the trigger, right? So when you're seeing all these visuals, don't stand over the table full of the laden with the things that, heretofore you haven't had. If you've been good up until now, move yourself over. I find for me, with my food addiction and my food issues, that I stopped having appetizers about 20 or 30 years ago. I just had to. After Overeaters, I learned that about myself. I don't stand when I'm eating, and I don't do appetizers, because I would hoover an appetizer table, or I would tackle one of the servers coming around with those nice little plates with the little toothpicks in them, and I would have 3,000 to 4,000 calories before the dinner. And don't think I didn't eat the dinner. I'm a foodie, so I have no control once that switch is flipped. So the trigger, if you look at it, is a test. Will you make it past the trigger? And so you want to make it past the trigger. You don't want to flip that switch. That switch is for, if you're a foodie, that's the danger. But we will get more into that in other videos. This was just the trigger. So I had a sponsor in my 12-step program, and she used to say to me, squint. When you see a trigger, squint. And so that's what I learned to do. I don't see it. I could no sooner. I look at a Kindle, and it's the same thing as looking at a plate of cookies. I don't allow it to light up my brain with that opiate effect. And that's what visuals do. For us that are food addicts, we can look at it. We don't even have to taste it, and our brain will light up. And they've proven this with opiate addicts, as well as cocaine addicts, as well as food addicts. They show the visual, and our brain lights up. And I've always felt that way, and until I went to school for my drug and alcohol addiction certification and license, I felt it myself, and I didn't say it to anybody else because nobody's really listening. And because when you enter a food program, it's to lose weight and it's not to learn what's really going on in your brain, right? And so I went, wow, I always felt that. Just looking at it was the trigger. And it lit up my brain. And that brain wants to be satisfied. I mean, ask any heroin addict, you know, if they could look at a set of works and really walk away from it, if they were, you know, shaky. So we don't want to be shaky. So you need to find the tips and tools that prevent the triggers from turning into the binge that turns into the self-loathing that turns into the weight gain. Okay? So triggers, don't flip that switch. Keep it in your head and deal with the head stuff with the trigger. Don't think you can have a little bit and walk away. Unless you're not a food addict, and then maybe you can. Maybe you just eat too much. But that's a topic for a different video. This one is the trigger. Okay? The lighting up of the brain without having it even get close to your lips, without even rubbing it on your body. So anyway, have a grand day. It's time for me to go. We don't want to get too lengthy, not this time of year. Have a wonderful day. Thanks so much for watching. My name is Sarah, Weight Watcher. Ooh, my old name almost slipped out. Pearls of Wisdom and Food on both Facebook and YouTube. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye for now.